Welcome to the Look to the Children show for this wonderful month of July. Hopefully it's sunny and beautiful wherever you are. If you haven't tuned into our show before, my name is Dr. Erik Kowalke. I film the first Thursday show of every month, Look to the Children with ChiroSecure. Goal and mission of this show is to just bring chiropractors real content for pediatric chiropractic care, spread the message of pediatric chiropractic care, and give you guys some tools and assets that you can use to take back to your practice, implement, and grow your clinic. And we got to give a huge shout out to Dr. Stu Hoffman and ChiroSecure and all they do for this profession. Of course, they're the host of this show, and they pour a lot into all the resources for this. So we're super thankful and excited to just bring this content to you every single month. All right, so I'm excited to get into pediatric nurture campaigns. So if you're watching this, that title probably caught your attention, and you're wondering, what the heck is a pediatric nurture campaign? I've heard of nurture campaigns before, but I've never put it in play in a pediatric sense or in a chiropractic office nonetheless. And so the big concept of this is, what do we need to do to communicate to parents post signing on to care? So if you go back and watch some of the last previous shows, May and June, we talked about communication techniques prior to coming into the office, communication techniques around the conversion process, and now we're talking about retention and communication techniques around retention and retaining people and really educating them. And it's a big fall off, I think, for chiropractors. You know, our office is in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We see tons and tons of kids. 40% of our office is pediatric. And you ask the chiropractor their stats, and they're going to give you how many people they see every week, and they're going to give you how many new patients they see, and they're going to give you their patient visit average. But most chiropractors put a ton of energy and time and focus on getting new patients, the conversion day 1, day 2 process, and getting them started. So they have all this touch point, and then once the person signs on to care or starts care or gets their first adjustment, it's kind of lackadaisical and left to the patient to kind of get more information and resources from there. And I think it's important to remember that people constantly need more information. You know, we think it's obvious, but the amount of information they're getting the first visit they're in our office, or the first and second visit, depending on how you do your day 1, day 2, is a ton of information. They're retaining probably 10% of what you actually told them. And just imagine how they're communicating it to the other people in their community, not only their spouse or their friends. You know, hey, you went to a chiropractor, how did it go? What do you think they're going to say? So this is the wild card, is not only do you have to be a good communicator, but you have to communicate effectively enough that empowers them to be able to communicate it effectively to other people that they know, which is key to referrals. Because if they can't communicate what the heck you're doing and how you communicate it to them in a simple, easy, sizable way, then you won't get a lot of referrals, and people won't tell people, not because they don't like your office, but because they don't know how the heck to tell other people what it is that you're doing, just through the way that you were able to communicate it to them. So these specific nurture campaigns, I'm going to go through just some quick 15-20 minutes today, stuff that you can implement right away in your practice, and maybe just shine some light on some areas that you can give more focus in your clinic to hopefully improve retention of the kids that are starting care in your clinic and the families, specific through ways of automation even, because we started SKED, so we try to automate as much as we can by still personalizing it so it doesn't feel like a bot, but it's automated so that you can do more with less time and less effort and less CA's time, and really leverage your time in your clinic to take care of people, but you're still doing all this other stuff that allows them to refer more people and get more retention. So let's start with pediatric nurture campaigns. What to communicate to parents after a child starts care is super, super important. So you got to think what you go through on your first day 1, day 2. This is what I would do. I would go through, what are the main things you communicate? What are you doing with your objective findings? Are you doing HRV? Are you doing thermal? Are you doing SEMG? Are you doing posture analysis? Are you taking pictures? Are you doing x-rays? What are all the objective analysis things you do? That's great content to add into post-care information and post-care education. So they can sign care and start care and still have no clue really about x-rays or what you went over. They'll just nod their head and be like, yeah, sounds good. And they're thinking in their head, I just want my kid to stop wetting the bed. So you sound confident, and I kind of trust you. So whatever it is that you're telling me, it sounds like you know what you're talking about, and I want my kid to stop wetting the bed. So I'm going to say yeah, and I'm going to just do whatever you do. But if you interviewed me afterwards and you're like, Tell me what you saw in little Johnny's x-rays and what that means. Most parents aren't going to have any clue. So it's not your fault. It was just too much information too fast. Use that to start to educate them. Create an email that you could send to them that has that information, like what is a normal x-ray, what is an abnormal x-ray, some of the stuff you go through in your day two. Just put that into a piece of education. It could be a handout. You could send it by email. You could send it by text message. We'll talk about that. Get the information into their hands and let them slowly kind of digest the information that you just pounded in day one and day two. Agreements. Hopefully, by the time they've started care, you've gone over important agreements, but this is something I see a lot with chiropractors is we jump right to the plan without really addressing what is the main problem and get an agreement from them on what the main problem. Let's use little Johnny, for example, like he's wetting the bed. You would think the problem, or the parent would think the problem is Johnny wets the bed. We would think the problem is subluxation as chiropractors. The real problem is what happens. Johnny wets the bed, and now we have to change the sheets every night, and he doesn't feel confident enough to spend the night at friends' houses, and it's affecting how he interacts with his peers, and it affects his confidence, and it affects our ability just to live our life because we're changing sheets and worried about him wetting the bed every single night. That's the real problem. And subluxation is obviously the cause, if that's what we can find and fix and correct and improve that child's life. But communicating that on day one and really getting them to understand, hey, this is the problem. What are the goals? So if you establish the problem and get agreement on the problem, the next one is setting up realistic goals. Like, what's an immediate goal? We want Johnny to stop wetting the bed. What's an intermediate goal? Johnny can then, sleep through the night without having to change his sheets, and he can spend nights at friends' houses. And long-term goal is we improve the health of his spine and nervous system, and he can never have this problem again. And in fact, he can prevent all these other problems from happening because he knows what good spinal health is, and we're going to do our best to keep his spine healthy and his nervous system functioning at 100%. Communicate and help the parent realize what are the goals, what are we trying to do here, because your recommendations are always based on their goals and your findings. And so clearly communicating the goals is so important. It's so easy as a pediatric chiropractor to be so excited to adjust them and take care of them. They're going to get better. You just want to get them on the table, that you start adjusting them. In the parent's mind, they think the problem is just wetting the bed, and all they want to do is get him to stop wetting the bed. So your plan is to start adjusting them right away, and they think, well, if you can adjust them and they can stop wetting the bed, we're good to go here, without realizing, well, what caused it and what's the plan to fix it, and do I agree to that as a mom or a dad with their child? So all of those steps are really important. And then laying out the path on what is it that we're doing to get them better? What are all the techniques that you use in your office? What are all the methods? What should the child or parent be doing to help their child with whatever the condition is that you're doing? And so you can go all the way from extreme ADHD cases to simple stuff like headaches and back pain in kids that usually resolves pretty quickly. Each one of those cases and scenarios, I'd encourage you to kind of see where your practice fits. What are the top 5 most common things you see kids, and then set up some specific scenarios like this on, okay, kid comes in with this sort of a thing. Here's a typical problem. These are the typical goals that we see, and start training your team around that so everybody's congruent. And then finally, you develop the goals, and you got the path. They know how you're going to get there. They know what they need to do. And then you just present the plan around, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it. So those are the agreements you're getting from mom or dad prior to even them committing to care, hopefully. If you haven't, we've all fallen into this trap. You just got to go back and reiterate this stuff. You got to make sure they understand the problem and the goal and the path and the plan, and you got to make sure that they understand how they're getting there and what really they should expect from your office, and start educating them on spinal health long term. Very, very important. Goals, just went through that. Education specific to their child. So this is super important. You can develop very specific pediatric education, which I would encourage you to do. Film a video, write a blog post, whatever. If you're a pediatric chiropractor, you're passionate about something, tie it to an awareness month around a condition, or if you read articles and you see that the childhood obesity rate is X, or the childhood chronic disease rate is so many percentage, do a piece of information on that to educate parents and start compiling this stuff into content that you can share. So the problem we've had for so many years is there's no lack of content that we have in our office to deliver. It's the ability to effectively deliver it. So what we've always done is just printed it off in a piece of paper and we've handed it out in the office to as many people as we can. And uh, if you put a trash can next to you outside your front door and you hand flyers out all day long, guess what that trash can is going to be full of by the end of the day? All the flyers you were handing out. So you got to figure out different ways to deliver the information, and we'll go through that at the end here. Don't fret. The communication methods are so much better today than they ever were, and you can automate stuff. You can go back and find it later on. You can really utilize it so you're not wasting your time creating content to use ones that you'll never see again. So education specific to their child is super important. And I'll show you through SKED. If you guys want to see this, this is how we do it in our office. We can tag specific cases with kids. So, I work with Tony Ebel a lot with pediatric experience, and if you hear the stuff, he talks about raging bull and different scenarios around kids with disorders. And so there's a whole series of content that you can send kids that would be in the raging bull category, or kids that are in the infant category. If you want to just keep it simple and do infant, toddler, adolescent, teenager, you could create content for each one of those groups. You could tag those people in your software, and then they just get this series of information that you set up. So you have specific nurture campaigns set up by condition. I mean, imagine that you're a parent and you have a teenager that got hurt in sports. You bring him in, you're thinking, I have no idea what chiropractic care is. I just hope that this guy can help him. I get tons of information. My kid starts getting better, but I'm getting texts and I'm getting emails teaching me about what is a concussion, what do we see in developing spines. Did you know the sacrum is 5 separate bones that fuses together? Like all of this stuff that parents are like, wow, I had no idea. I'm getting all this content. So you're just pouring value onto that mom and that parent and the dad, and you're building value and trust, which in turn is going to pour through on retention and referrals. And guess what they're going to talk about to their friends? They're going to talk about all the stuff you're sending them and the communication that you're delivering. And because it's stuff they never heard before, and their mind is thinking that now because their child is experiencing it. So there's never a better time to educate somebody that wants the education because their own child is having a thing. And so I can tell you this, with pediatric chiropractic care, it's almost easier to educate parents that have a child with an issue than it is with their own issue, because people can just deal with stuff. And you talk to a mom or a dad, or if you have kids, we care more about our kid than we do ourselves. So, if you try to educate me on you should be doing these exercises and stuff, I'd be like, okay, I'm fine. But my kid has an issue going on, and I'm listening a little bit more intently around what you're telling me, because I want to make sure I don't screw my kid up. And, I could have done something that I didn't do, and 20 years from now, I'm going to wish I would have done it. And so you have the ability to really connect with parents. They're listening more than any other patient that you see in your clinic or any scenario that comes in. So definitely be intentional with it and be specific and create great content specifically for those kids. How to communicate with parents after a child starts care. This is stuff I just mentioned. In person, handing flyers out. It's still fun to do, especially if you have a busier office that they wait a while in your waiting room, and you can have a person that does experience in your office, or a check-in CA that hands information out. And if we're always doing so many events. Like you look at this wall behind me, we're doing a big coloring contest. Kids love coloring contests, and I love coloring contests, and it's fun, and I love just taping them all over the wall. So we do coloring contests all the time, but handing out like, hey, this is an event we're doing, this is what we're going on, this is a dinner with the doc going up, we're having our 10-year anniversary in August, we'd love if you could participate, and all this information. So obviously in person is still awesome. Emails, we've made it so easy for you to do this. So if you have an EHR system and you're using SKED, you can automate all of your nurture campaigns. Once you create it once, there's templates, you can create it. We have templates for certain organizations. So if you're part of the pediatric experience, we just boom, check that box, and you get all these templates that you can use to send specific nurture emails based on specific conditions. It's super sweet. We call it campaigns. And then text messaging. If you have any ability to send text messages from your EHR or from whatever software you're using, you got to be sending these text messages the day after they come in as a new patient. You got to be sending them 1 week 2 weeks, 3 weeks, all the way through week 6. And then you got to be sending them at 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months at the bare minimum, text messages and emails. This is education. This is bringing them, this isn't a newsletter like this is what's going on in my clinic. This is specific education to whatever their thing is. So if they have a teenage child, it's teenage education for 6 weeks. Why is it important that teenagers get chiropractic care? If it's an infant, why is it important that infants get chiropractic care? If it's a pregnant mom, why is it important that infants get chiropractic care and pregnant moms get chiropractic care? So it's putting a little work in the front end of customizing this for who you are. So in our office, I film videos, I post them up to Vimeo, and then I put a link in our SKED stuff, and all these videos go out to welcome new patients and to educate them post starting care, and that has dramatically improved our retention. And it's no more. All I do is create it once, and it's no more work. You can automate that system and that process. We use SKED to do it. Obviously, we created it. If you want more information on that, I'd be happy to give it to you. But if you have a system that can do this, please, please, please update it, use it. It's awesome. Why communication after they start care is key to retention and a referral-based practice. They don't remember what you said, and I think what we've missed, and I mentioned this in the beginning, is they don't communicate it to others, not because they don't believe in you or they don't think you're awesome or you didn't help their kid. It's because they don't really know how to communicate it. So you got to use very simple terms. Tony Ebel is amazing at this. If you can connect with him on specific kids stuff, or you watch his, just sign up for Pediatric Chiropractic today, get in there, listen to this stuff, listen to these Look to the Children shows. Dr. Monica Berger is awesome later on in the month, and she shares so much good content that you can use to teach moms simply and dads, how do I explain what's going on with my kid in a simple way? And that's the mindset you want to be thinking when you're communicating with a mom and you see them glaze over. I keep saying mom because most of the time mom brings a kid in, or dad, you see them start to glaze over and not really understand. That's your key. Like, okay, this is important information, but they're never going to be able to remember this. So what do I really want them to remember? And you got to end your conversation with that. And then that's got to be the follow-up message that goes in their email after their first day, is the top 3 things you want them to know. The top 3 things about teenagers that why they need chiropractic care. The top, what is the goal? What is the plan? What are we going to be doing? Why is that important that they stick to this frequency? Why is it important that they do their exercises? Why is it important that they take these supplements if that's your game and what you're doing to help kids get better? So effectively communicate using text messages, using emails, using nurture campaigns is super, super important. So hopefully you guys got something out of this, and you can take this back to your practice and you can start implementing one more thing to help more kids, see more kids. Obviously, if you want more information from us, sked.life. My name is Dr. Erik Kowalke. You can reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram. If you have specific questions or want to see how we run stuff in our clinic, I'd be happy to share that with you guys. And go to our website, 20-minute strategy call if you're interested. You can see what SKED does and how it works with your EHR, but it allows us to see lots of kids and families really super easily and just provide an amazing experience. So we can focus on all these coloring contests and sheets and all the fun stuff that we love to do as a pediatric chiropractic office. So hope you guys have an amazing July and look forward to seeing you again in August.
Today's pediatric show, Look to the Children, was brought to you by ChiroSecure.